So we're going to start with Prop 16, ending the ban on affirmative action. I love this one. This proposition was put here by legislature. It's a bill by San Diego Democrat Assembly member Shirley Weber. The type of proposition, it's a constitutional amendment. This is definitely, as Nick referenced earlier, an oldie but goodie because we've already had Prop 209, which effectively ended the use of affirmative action at the state level for institutions like our state colleges and universities. And so this finally made it to the ballot. Let's talk about it. Okay, so affirmative action is basically making sure that for people where there has been underrepresentation, whether it's for jobs or education, based on immutable characteristics, your race, something that you can't possibly cover up on an application, that you are not denied. It doesn't have to do with giving someone a chance who hasn't earned or doesn't represent, whatever level you should have. That's not what it's about. It's not about anything other than making sure that if you've been kept out, that you're not kept out based on your race. And we know in this country there has been a long history of racial discrimination for all sorts of things. And I was a student at UCLA around the time of Prop 209. Going back to the campus since then, I see the effects of Prop 209 on that campus. And it saddens me to even see that. So I'm excited about this being here, and I hope that people will go below the fold. If you don't know and you want to really research affirmative action, don't just look at the first thing that comes up on Google, please. Do some research and talk to people and begin to understand that this is a fight worth you getting involved in and saying yes to make sure that that's rectified.
The backlash to affirmative action, which probably came into prominence in, let's say, like the 70s, early 80s, was due to the fact that, they didn't like seeing, I'm just going to say black people getting spots in school and employment where, their resumes or, whatever qualifications were seen as inferior to that of others. But then it calls into question what these qualifications are and why this group of people, it happens to be more likely to be less qualified. And what affirmative action does is take into account what marginalized groups have had to deal with in this land called America for the entirety of our time here. And I think it's really important that, I'm not sure if we're sharing opinions.
Yeah, we can share. Yeah, absolutely.
That people vote yes on this is to affirm the history of this nation and in this state, especially. People think California is just a progressive or liberal haven. It is not. I mean, it might be very recent, but you think about Reagan's time, Wilson, all the conservative people who've, been, leaders in this state. There's a lot of conservatism here, and Prop 209 is part of it. So I encourage people to vote yes, just because it recognizes that there are some inequities that need to be rectified. You mentioned UCLA. Actually, I was a pretty good student in high school. I actually got into some Ivy Leagues and to some other good schools. I did not get into UCLA or UC Berkeley. They weren't my first choice. I wasn't really devastated, and I'm glad that I went where I went. But I think about that, and maybe my grades didn't qualify, or there was a lot of other more qualified applicants. But I didn't necessarily come from a disadvantaged background. But I wonder if Prop 209 weren't there, would that decision have gone the other way? And there's probably other people like me who really wanted to go to these schools who have the similar qualifications who did not get in. So, and I really think that people should vote yes on it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I also am all for a yes vote. I think some of the pushback, the less sinister pushback against affirmative action, comes from people who are saying, look, like, it should just be a level playing field regardless of race, but that discounts the fact that it already isn't.
Right.
Like, we don't live in a vacuum, and these issues exist, and affirmative action is trying to right an historical wrong. So yeah, yes on this one.
Yeah. At some point, not just community people, but spiritual leaders, all of them need to pay attention to this stuff. I'm interested in what they think about this. Like how, we're arguing and fighting over other issues that have validity as well, but like this that really affects people in the inner city. If the playing field isn't fair, there are things in place that should help correct those wrongs.